Hey everyone, welcome back to Coding Atlas. Today we are going to explore a really handy feature in Python called variable length arguments. You may have seen something like this before in functions, but you were not sure exactly how it works. In this video, you will learn all you need to know about it and how handy it can be in certain use cases. When we talk about variable length arguments represented by args in Python, we are talking about a way to allow a function to accept a variable number of arguments. Normally, when you define a function, you specify a specific number of parameters. For example, let's say we have a function called addNumber. So to create a function, use the def keyword. So we want to define a function and we want to call it addNumbers. Okay. Normally, when you want to define a function like this, you specify a specific number of parameters. Let's say you have two parameters, a and b, and the function is to perform addition of a plus b. So we want to return the sum of a and b from the function. So this function addNumbers take exactly 2 arguments. But what if you don't know in advance how many arguments you want to pass to a function? That's where variable length arguments comes in. Now let's consider the syntax. The syntax for variable length argument functions goes by, we have the def keyword. You can call it my function, standing for the name of your function. So to create a variable length parameters in this function, you start with this asterisk and then the name of your parameters, whatever name you want to give to the number of arguments to be passed to the function. By convention, people use args, but you are at the liberty of using whatever name you like. What is necessary in creating variable length argument is this asterisk. So the name can be anything. You can call it John, you can call it Joe, you can call it goat, you can call it dog, whatever name you like. So inside of the function, you write your code you want to perform, but we are going to use the keyword of pass, telling Python that we are not doing anything for now. So this asterisk tells Python, it tells Python to accept any number of positional arguments. You know, in argument we have keyword argument and you have positional arguments. Positional arguments are the ones that you passed in the same order as the parameter, while keyword are the ones that use the key and the value. So this single asterisk, it is telling Python to accept any number of positional arguments. Args, just like I said, is just a name for the collection of arguments. You can technically call it what you want. You can call it numbers, you can call it values, you can call it parameters, whatever name you want to call it. But args is the common convention in Python. So when you use this asterisk args, it means the function can take as many arguments as you pass to it, and those arguments will be collected into a tuple. So take note of that. Whenever you are using variable length of arguments using a single asterisk, it means the function can accept any number of positional arguments, and the arguments are going to be collected inside of a tuple. This name you provided is going to represent the tuple in which the arguments will be collected inside of it. Let's look at an example of how args works in a real function. So let's call this function, I call it sum all. In this function now we have addNumbers. This one is going to add a certain number of numbers that we've defined. Just like this now, it's adding 2 numbers. But this sum all is going to add a certain number of arguments that we don't know. We don't know the number of arguments that will be passed to it in advance. But the function is going to add all the arguments. Either you pass 10 arguments, you pass 20, you pass 50. So it's going to add all of them. So to do that, we are going to use an inbuilt function to add any number of items in an iterable. We use the sum function. It is an inbuilt function in Python. So if you read the doc string of the sum function, you see it returns the sum of a start value plus an iterable of numbers. The start defaults to 0. So this sum function returns the sum of an iterable of numbers. Since the arguments are collected in a tuple, and tuple is also an iterable, so we can pass the tuple inside of the sum built-in function. So here we are going to have args. Okay, to see that args is actually a tuple, we can as well print args also. Let's return the value from the sum function. Okay, so we can say sum all. Let's pass, we can pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this now is going to, if we run this now, let's run this. So you can see now at this line, args is printed. So you can see that all the numbers, they are collected inside of a tuple, but we can't see the value returned because we are not printing it. We can as well print this. Let's put it inside of a print function. Right, we run this again. So these are the values collected inside of a tuple, and this is the sum of all the values, all the arguments. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10, plus 5 is 15. If you like, you can pass any number of arguments you want. 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's add 20. So this is going to add all of them. So this is the tuple of all the numbers, add the argument passed to it, and this is the sum, 65. Notice how the function doesn't need to know how many arguments will be passed. Whether you give it 4 arguments or 10 arguments, the function will always work. One key point to understand is that args collects all the extra arguments into a tuple. To see that you can perform every other operation you can perform on a tuple on this, we can as well, we can create a function. Let's call it print all. So we have def print all is going to be the name of the function. So we are going to accept variable length of arguments. So let's call it args, or we can as well call it numbers to signify that you can use any variable name you like. So if we print numbers initially, we've already seen that this is going to be a tuple. So let's okay, let's invoke print all. We have print all function. Let's pass 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9. Okay, we run this now. So we printed numbers, and numbers is a tuple, as we can see here. So inside of this, we can as well iterate over the tuple to see that we can perform any operation that we can perform in a normal tuple on this. So we can say for loop num in numbers. Its numbers is expected to be a tuple. Inside of that, we can print num. Print num. Okay, now we've executed the function here, right? So you can see that we iterated over each of the arguments, pass into it, and we print each of the items during the iteration. You can as well say num times 2. So this is a tuple, or num plus 2. So you are adding 2 to each of the arguments passed into the function. You can also combine args with other parameters in a function. So just like we have this variable argument syntax, you can as well combine it with other regular parameters in a function. But it is important to know that whenever you want to combine args with other parameters in a function, args must always come after any regular parameters. For example, let's say we have a function that we use to greet certain number of people. Let's call the function, we can call it greet all. Okay, so the first parameter now we want to pass is the greeting. We want to greet all the people, and then followed by the names of the people we want to greet. So we can call it names. All right, so this is a parameter, this is a normal parameter, while this is a variable length parameter. So in this example now, we are combining a normal parameter with variable length of parameters. Here we are going to have a colon. So names is a tuple. We can loop over it, so we can say for name in names. All right, so inside of the tuple, we want to greet each of the persons that are passed as arguments. So we can say print, use the f string to interpolate the greeting. So here we can say greeting, f string, this is curly braces, we say greeting. All right, and then we're going to say name. So we have another curly braces and we pass name. All right, so in this function now, we're expecting a variable number of arguments. So the arguments will be collected inside of a tuple, which we are calling names here, and then we are looping over the tuple. In each of the iteration, we are printing the greeting that is passed in to each of the names provided. So if we run this function now, greet all, okay, so the first normal parameter that is expected is the greeting, so we are going to pass the greeting as the first argument. So we can say hello there, we can say hello there as our greeting, and then the people we want to greet, let's say we first want to greet James, we want to greet Alice, we also want to greet Bob, we want to greet John. Okay, so we can stop there as an example. We can as well clear our console. Let's see if we are not printing any other thing. Print all is not executed. Some all, none of them are executed. All right, so let's run this now. So you can see we have all this name collected in a tuple, and we are iterating over the tuple here. So we are saying greeting, which is hello there, and in first name here we have James, we have Alice, hello there, Bob, hello there, John. So whenever you want to use variable length arguments with normal parameters, you pass the normal parameters first, and then the variable length arguments should come last. Variable length arguments can be useful when you don't know how many items you'll be dealing with, like processing data from user input or a list from a database. Args makes it easy to loop through the values without worrying about how many values that are expected. So what if no arguments were passed to the function when calling it? Another cool thing about args, that is variable length arguments, is that it's completely optional to pass arguments. You can call a function with args like this without providing any argument at all, and it won't break your code. Python will simply create an empty tuple for args. Just like in this example that we have print all. Let's comment this out. For example, in this function that we have print all, that is printing all the numbers, you can as well determine not to pass any argument, and it's not going to break your code. So let's get rid of all this. Okay, if we run this now, print all, you see that you are not going to run into any error. So what happens in this case that you don't pass any argument is that Python is going to create an empty tuple, and since the tuple is empty, so this for loop will not be executed. We can as well print numbers and see that we have an empty tuple here. We run this again now, so you see this is the numbers that we printed. It's an empty tuple. It's not going to break your code. So what happens if you forget to add asterisk to your parameters definition? This will result in error because the function is expecting only one argument. If you forget to add the asterisk now, so that means you are creating a normal function that is expecting one argument. By forgetting the asterisk and you invoke the function, you are going to run into error. So just like this, let's use the same print all function. Now we are passing a number of arguments to it. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So during the definition, we forgot to add the asterisk, and now we are passing a number of arguments, whereas the function is expecting just one argument. If we run this now, so you are going to run into type error. The print function is expecting one positional argument, but 5 were given. Whenever you are creating variable length argument function, the asterisk is crucial because that is what tells Python to expect a variable number of arguments and package them into a tuple. Alright guys, in this video we've learned what args means and how it works in Python. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Coding Atlas for more Python tutorials. I will see you in the next video.